Jack Dye's ex-girlfriend, McKinley Richardson, has just come forward, dropping a wave of shocking allegations that could very well land him behind bars. And we're not talking about minor accusations here. These are some of the most disturbing, unforgivable acts a person could ever be accused of. She recently sat down for a podcast alongside another one of Jack's former OnlyFans partners, Camilla Arruo. That's right, both McKinley and Camilla were caught up in Jack's manipulation and exploitation. Together, they exposed the truth, painting a chilling picture of who Jack really is. So, let's dive into it, because this story gets dark, fast.
And, access to my accounts and all of this stuff, the disrespect started showing. Like, he was not as respectful as he was in the beginning. A dinner, you could forget about it. We never went on dates. We never did anything like how we did in the past. He was strictly just, content. So I was like, how do you keep up with all of this stuff? Like,
you're not going to believe what McKinley just revealed. In a shocking and emotional interview, she finally opens up about the trauma, manipulation, and chaos she endured while dating Jack, a man the internet once saw as charming and fun. What she shares will leave you speechless. Let's break it down. McKinley begins by describing one of the most disturbing nights of her life. Around 2:30 in the morning, she was allegedly assaulted by one of Jack's hometown friends while she was asleep. She explains that she, Jack, and this so-called friend were all in the same bed, and in the middle of the night, the guy began touching her inappropriately. It's beyond disgusting. And what's even worse, nobody called the police. Not that night, not the next morning, nothing. McKinley says the man basically walked away without any consequences. His excuse? That he was on something, which, let's be honest, is no excuse at all. No matter what substances you're on, consent is non-negotiable. McKinley then reflects on the early days with Jack, when everything seemed perfect. She says he wasn't toxic back then. In fact, he was charming, protective, and respectful. He'd open doors for her, take her to dinner, and make her feel safe. Back then, the guy online, the wild, controversial version everyone sees, wasn't the man she fell in love with. She fell for the gentleman. The one who smiled, laughed, and made her feel special. But like in so many toxic relationships, once he had her, everything changed. One morning, McKinley describes waking up to everyone acting strange. Jack's friends were whispering, and people were clearly hiding something. Then they told her the truth. Jack had hooked up with another girl the night before. When she asked why, they said, "Don't freak out. He thought it was you." Yes, seriously. That was his excuse. He cheated and claimed he thought the other girl was McKinley. She couldn't believe it. They looked nothing alike. That excuse was so absurd it almost felt like a bad joke. She had just flown across the entire country from LA to Miami, only to be met with betrayal and lies. As the relationship went on, McKinley says she started noticing Jack's substance use getting worse, especially his abuse of Adderall, which he wasn't even prescribed anymore. He'd mix it with heavy drinking, becoming erratic, hyper, and completely unpredictable. Sometimes, he'd take multiple pills at once, and his heart would race so fast he'd say he thought he was going to die. McKinley recalls nearly calling an ambulance on several occasions. And here's the really scary part. He didn't just use it himself. He allegedly gave it to his employees, telling them it would make them work better or be more efficient. That's incredibly dangerous, not to mention illegal things. Took a darker turn when McKinley says Jack's assistant approached her with an ultimatum. Jack wanted her to start an OnlyFans account, or else he didn't see a reason to stay together. That broke her. She says she cried, and because this was the same man who once praised her for not having one. Then, one morning, Jack handed her a contract. He told her to sign it. She barely had time to call her mom or talk to a lawyer. The contract claimed he would own all her social media accounts, including the ones she had built herself. Over 500,000 TikTok followers, 100,000 on Instagram, everything. When she questioned it, Jack brushed it off, saying it meant nothing. So, under pressure, she signed, and right after, he said the words, You're now Jack Dye's girlfriend. Yes. Their relationship only became official after she signed a contract giving him control. After that, McKinley says everything changed. Jack stopped being affectionate, stopped taking her out. It was all about content. He pushed her to keep up with his chaotic lifestyle, often at the cost of her health. She says she developed an addiction just trying to stay awake and keep up with him. Going days without eating, losing weight and feeling mentally destroyed. Everything became a performance. Even when she was exhausted or upset, Jack would say it was for the content. McKinley describes how their house became a non-stop circus. Jack was streaming almost 24/7, surrounded by random people fighting, screaming, and pulling insane stunts for views. She said she couldn't even relax in her own home. The chaos was constant. Everything was being filmed, sometimes without her consent, and the emotional toll was overwhelming. One of the most disturbing stories she shared was when Jack flipped a golf cart on top of her, on purpose. He thought it would make a funny clip. She says she was in extreme pain, her back and neck badly bruised, and she could barely walk. But instead of taking her to the hospital, Jack decided to go on a yacht with Antonio Brown. She begged him to take her to the ER, but he just left. His friends told her to get a massage and relax. She could have been seriously injured, maybe even paralyzed, but all Jack cared about was the content. Then came the moment that could have cost her life. During a live-streamed car event in Compton, McKinley was robbed at gunpoint while alone in the van. She describes hearing gunshots and helicopters, realizing people nearby were wearing masks and carrying weapons. She tried to hide, but then a man with a gun and a blue surgical mask climbed into the van. She begged for her life, offering her money, her jewelry, anything. She genuinely thought she was about to die. And what did Jack do afterward? He came back laughing, still streaming, turning her trauma into more content. When she begged him to turn off the camera, he refused. He told her, "Tomorrow you'll wake up to all these viral TikToks." McKinley also revealed that Jack would body shame her constantly, telling her she looked ugly or too skinny, comparing her to her old photos. It broke her confidence, piece by piece. Combined with everything else, the manipulation, danger, and exploitation, it left her completely drained. Conclusion: by the end of the interview, it's painfully clear McKinley went through emotional, physical, and psychological abuse. Jack's behavior wasn't just toxic. It was cruel and calculated, and honestly, it's shocking he's still allowed on platforms after everything that's come out. McKinley deserves peace, healing, and justice. If there's one good thing here, it's that she's finally speaking out, and people are finally listening. That's the first part of her story. The second part of the podcast is out now, but it's 3 hours long, and it's even more intense. If you want me to cover that entire second interview, hit the like button and let's get this video to 1,000 likes. Because this story, it's far from over. Stay safe, everyone.